The old beggar woman warned the sea of a curse. He laughed and fired her son. When his child fell gravely ill, the billionaire crawled back, begging the worthless hag for mercy. Rain hammered the crumbling mud brick shrine at the edge of a Sala town like the sky was punishing the earth. Water leaked through the roof in dirty streams, pooling on the floor where billionaire Adebayo Ogun knelt, clutching his 3-year-old daughter Amira. The child burned in his RMS, lips blue, eyes rolled back, tiny body jerking with each ragged breath. Amira! Stay with Papa. His voice was raw. 3 days ago, she'd been chasing butterflies in their Lagos mansion. Then he'd ordered the bulldozers into the useless Sacred Grove NEAR town. That night, the fever began. Top doctors at Lagos General had shrugged, no virus. No infection. Organs failing, inexplicably. Then what? He'd read. One young resident muttered, maybe, the locals call it spirit sickness. Superstitious nonsense. Adebayo had stormed out. He believed in science, in money, in his mining empire. Curses were for fools. Now, kneeling in this leaking shrine with his dying girl, he understood some things couldn't be bought or explained. The door creaked open. In walked Ayla. The crazy beggar woman he'd publicly humiliated 3 days ago when she protested the grove's destruction. The woman whose son he'd fired for stealing company supplies. The one who'd pointed a bony finger and read. You take our roots today, tomorrow your bloodline's fruit will wither. Your daughter will taste your arrogance. This is the ancestors' judgment. Everyone had laughed then. No one was laughing now. Ayla shuffled closer, her faded blue dress dripping. She looked at Amira, then at Adebayo. No anger, no gloating, just deep, unsettling calm. You came back, she said. You mocked my curse. Now your child's life rests in my ancestors' hands. Adebayo remembered that day vividly, the Grove protesters, his sneering dismissal, Ayla's son Akin, a quiet janitor, being dragged away crying, we only took fallen branches for Mama's medicine. Papa, Amira whimpered in delirium. Tars mixed with rainwater on Adebayo's face. Please, save her. Money. Land. 10 times whatever you want. Ayla crouched until their eyes were level. Hers gleamed unnaturally in the dim light. I never wanted those, she whispered. I wanted dignity. The kind you crushed when you fired Akin for theft. The kind you spat on when you called our sacred trees trash. To save her, you must first reclaim what you lost, shame. She moved to a cracked clay pot, spitting out brown powder. This is soul-wake herb. Mix it with spring water, the same spring your minds are re-poisoning. It will calm her. But healing. She pressed the powder into his palm. That depends on you. Me. Your daughter's sickness grew from poison roots, your arrogance, your greed, your forgotten blood. The medicine is just water and leaves. The cure, she pointed at his chest, lies here. Adebayo read at the powder, then at Amira's fever-flushed face. For the first time in his life, the great Adebayo Ogun, mining Twacn, Lion of Lagos, lowered his head. He stumbled outside into the storm, his $10,000 suit soaking in mud as he hauled up a bucket of murky well water. Back inside, he mixed the herb with shaking hands, dripping the bitter liquid between Amira's cracked lips. Ayla watched silently, her face unreadable. The coconut oil lamp flickered, casting 3 trembling shadows on the wall, a dying child. A broken king. And the old woman the world had thrown away, who held more power than all his billions. Outside, the rain kept falling. Adebayo Ogun knelt in the mud, dribbling the bitter soul-wake herb juice between his daughter Amira's cracked lips. The child whimpered, swallowing a little before coughing weakly. Her fever still raged, but her breathing steadied. Adebayo looked up at Ayla with desperate hope. Will she live? His voice scraped raw. Ayla didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the shrine's weathered idol, pulled dried herbs from her pocket, and lit them in a stone bowl. Bitter smoke curled through the damp air. To save her, Ayla said, eyes closed, you must hear a story your family buried. Adebayo almost snapped. He didn't have time for stories, but Amira's shallow breath kept him silent. He knelt like a chastised schoolboy. The old woman began. My family, the Elegun, Oguns Ars, were spirit speakers for centuries. We gua ride the Ogun spring, where the War gods Spa first pierced the Earth. Its waters healed plagues, cleansed curses, until the colonizers came. Her voice turned razor sharp, your father was my childhood. Sweet art. We vowed to protect the spring. Then mining men offered him money to reveal its location. He said, Aila, I won't let my children starve like we did. Adebayo's stomach lurched. He led them there. They dynamited the sacred cavern, pumped the water dry for factories. When the spring turned foul and sickness spread, they blamed us. My father was beaten. Our family exiled. And your father Aila's laugh was ice. He took the blood money to Lagos, and became a self-made man. Rain drummed the roof. Adebayo's hands shook. His father's favorite boast, I built an empire from nothing, now reeked of betrayal. So you curse me, for his sins? No. Aila gripped his chin. The land itself is cursing you. Amira's fever, the poison spring screaming through her veins. You bulldozed sacred groves, fired my son for stealing fallen branches, you're your father's shadow, trampling the same roots. Adebayo collapsed four-way RD. Forehead hitting mud. The mighty mining TYCN reduced to a sobbing heap. I didn't know, you didn't ask. Aila spat. When your drill sucked the water table dry, you called it progress. When children got sick, you said bad sanitation. Now your own child drowns in that poison, and suddenly, she mocked his accent, oh, maybe spirits are real. Silence. How do I fix this? Aila yanked him upright. First, memory. Kneel at the ruined spring. Taste the filth your mind's made. Second, action, not charity. Replant the sacred grove. Filter the water. Rehire the men you fired with public apology. She pressed a GNA roulette hand to his chest. Last, listen. Not to bankers or doctors, to the wind, the river, the elders you called illiterate. Real wisdom hides in wrinkled faces and broken huts. Outside, the rain softened. The crumbling idols seemed to nod. Adebayo Ogon, pride shattered, empire crumbling, finally understood. Some debts can't be paid with money. Only with roots. Amira's breathing steadied under the soul-wake herb's grip, her fever still burning but no longer convulsing. Adebayo sagged in relief, watching lamplight flicker across his daughter's face. She'll recover, he asked Aila. The old woman snuffed out the smoking herbs instead of answering. The herb buys time, she said, sta ring into the rain. To truly heal her, you must heal another first. Who? My son? Akin. Aila turned, eyes blazing. You fired him. Smea read his name, drove him to Lagos. Find him. Adebayo stiffened. Akin, that quiet janitor he'd accused of stealing supplies without proof, now held his daughter's life in his hands. Why him? Unbroken grudges poison the land, Aila hissed. You didn't just take his job, you crushed his dignity. That anger coils around your daughter's fate like a viper. No medicine works until you cut it loose. Lagos. Palmwa RF. 3 days later, Adebayo stood at the filthy docks, disguised in a laborer's torn shirt, watching Akin haul 100-pound cement sacks under the scorching sun. The boy's shoulders were raw, his ribs visible through sweat-slicked skin. For 2 days, Adebayo worked beside him, blisters bursting on his soft sea palms, back screaming under loads he'd never see a ride. On the third night, he offered Akin water. Thanks, Akin muttered, not looking up. You came alone to Lagos? Adebayo probed. Akin's laugh was bitter. After being branded a thief. My mother scavenges trash while I rot here. What pride is left? The words gutted Adebayo. That false accusation had festered in Akin's soul. Your mother, that crazy old witch everyone mocks. Akin's voice cracked. She taught me honesty matters more than food. Now he gestured at the slum. Honesty won't buy paracetamol. The revelation. When Adebayo finally revealed himself, Akin recoiled. Like struck by a snake. You come to laugh at me? Adebayo dropped to his knees in the mud. My daughter's dying. Aila says only your forgiveness can, my forgiveness. Akin's fists clenched. You ruined us for fun. Now you beg, not beg, repent. Adebayo clutched Akin's calloused hands. I'll publicly clear your name. Restore the sacred grove. Whatever you, I don't want your money. Akin yanked free. I want my mother's dignity back. I want the spring you poison cleaned. I want you to stop treating people like cockroaches. Silence. Then, slowly, Akin exhaled. If you mean it. I'll listen. Not for you. For her. Rain began falling, washing the dock's grime into the RK River. Two men stood in it, one who'd lost everything, one who'd had everything and lost his soul. The first step was taken. The rider path still lay ahead. Rain tapped the dock as Adebayo and Akin stood in the mud, the river murmuring between them. Let's go back to Asala, Akin finally said. My mother doesn't need TRS. She needs deeds. Adebayo nodded. No longer the billionaire C who commanded a remise of lawyers, just a man carrying guilt and hope. This wasn't a trip home. It was a pilgrimage. They bow ride a rickety dawn bus, rattling over potholes. For the first time, Adebayo truly saw the land, not mining blueprints from helicopter views, but bulldozed tree stumps, poisoned rivers, children with hollow eyes. Ayla waited at the shrine's door at dusk, golden light haloing her. She's stable, Adebayo whispered of Amira, but the fever won't break. Ayla touched the girl's forehead. Soulwaker buys time. The full moon ritual heals. Then came her terms: plant the first sapling yourself, no hired hands. Public apology to me and Akin, admitting your father's betrayal. Walk Refute on the thorn path to the ruined spring. Adebayo's soft sea palms clenched. I agree. Next day. Sacred Grove. Adebayo, blisters bursting, shoveled dirt alongside villagers who'd once cowered before him. Kids giggled at his clumsy planting until elders joined silently. Akin watched, jaw tight. At noon, Adebayo stood on a crate in the village square. I'm not here as Ogon Mining's chairman. Just a father, a son, a man who broke Asala's roots. His voice cracked. My dad sold the sacred spring for cash. I bulldozed your grove, fired Akin for theft he didn't commit. Today, he knelt in the dust. I beg forgiveness. Women wept. Men murmured. Ayla's TRS glinted in the shadows. Moonrise. Thorn path. Refute on jagged stones, Adebayo's blood painted the trail silver. Villagers followed silently. At the spring's corpse, a muddy puddle. Ayla lit sage, chanting as she mixed 7 herbs: Munli spring artisol wake dreambine blood cleanser hierd gue de rotcollar de arfolu, the western trained physician, scoffed, unmeasured doses moon phases affecting health. This isn't Sai. Amira's eyelids fluttered. The crowd gasped. 37.2 degrees C. Olu fumbled his thermometer. Impossible. Her fever's gone. Ayla kept chanting, her voice merging with the wind. Adebayo crumpled beside his daughter, sobbing. Not from pain, from understanding. This wasn't witchcraft. It was the oldest science, connection. Sickness starts in the soul, Ayla whispered. You mended broken bonds, with EARTH, with people, with your own shame. That's the real medicine. Moonlight rippled across the spring's last puddle, whispering back when men kneel, the land rises. Amira slept peacefully under the moonlight, her cheeks pink again, breath steady. Adebayo knelt beside her, afraid to move. What if this was just a dream? Olu kept checking his instruments, muttering, fever gone, inflammation markers down. This makes no medical sense unless what Adebayo whispered. Unless those herbs contain undiscovered alkaloids that modulate neuroimmune endocrine pathways, Olu said, frowning. But what's stranger, her recovery synced with your actions. When you apologized, her seizures stopped. When you walked Refute, her fever broke. It's like extreme psychosomatic healing. Adebayo didn't argue. He knew Olu was grasping for scientific explanations, just as he'd once used progress to justify greed. Right now, facts mattered more than theories. His daughter was alive. Ayla stood, gazing at the mining pit, a festering wound on the land. This is just the beginning, she said quietly. Trees can regrow. Springs can be cleansed. But if RTS don't change, the wound will reopen. Adebayo followed her gaze, unease churning in his gut. He'd promised to replant the sacred grove, but his mining empire still spewed poison. His child was saved, but what about the others? I need the truth, he vowed. Next morning. Ogon mining site disguised as a laborer, Adebayo walked the pits with a kin. The scene was grim. Workers coughed behind flimsy masks. A hidden pipe dumped murky wastewater into an underground river. Marked maintenance, keep out guardias harassed anyone NEA or water sources. That's the black pipe, Akin muttered. No proper treatment plant. Saves money, poisons wells. Adebayo's stomach twisted. He'd never asked about technical details, delegated that to executives. He thought he was running a business. Turned out, he was running a death camp. He confronted Izugo, the site engineer. The man cracked instantly. Sir, Shari holders demanded cost cuts. The consultants said short-term dumping was low risk. But I tested the water, lead, cadmium, mercury, all. I reported it. They buried it. Adebayo's vision swam. Amira's spirit sickness wasn't a curse, it was heavy metal poisoning. Aila's ancestral wrath was ecological collapse in Old Tongue. I'm the real witch, he whispered. Spelling the land with greed. Emergency Boa Road meeting on screen. Williams, their London-based sustainability advisor, sneered, full shutdown for environmental review. Quarterly EA earnings will tank. My daughter almost died, Adebayo growled. From our poison. Williams shrugged, tragic, but install home filters. Mine stay open. Maybe phase in reforms later, not later. Now. Adebayo slammed the table. Shut illegal drains. Build treatment plants. No more lies. Costs will skyrocket 30%. Williams laughed. You'd bankrupt us. Remember, we made you. The room froze. Adebayo scanned the silent executives, then smiled. You gave me capital. But the land gave me wealth. The workers gave me sweat. As majority Shari holder, I declare immediate halt to all mining freeze executive bonuses for Eco-Rebuild Independent. Audit of decade-long violations. Whistleblower protection for staff oppose this, he added, and I leak everything to press and prosecutors. Williams turned purple. You'll destroy the company. No, Adebayo said softly. I'm saving it. Real profit isn't on spreadsheets, it's in water safe enough for children to drink. He killed the feed. Izugo stood, sir. I have 5 YARS of water data. Internal emails. I'll testify. Akin nodded, my Lagos dockmates will talk too. We're done being silent. For the first time in YARS, Adebayo didn't feel alone. Press conference. Minegate's Adebayo faced reporters in work boots, flanked by Izugo and miners. He played the black pipe footage, released toxin reports, and announced Adebayo Ogam, apologize for poisoning Asala. Effective today, permanent closure of pit. $350 million Ecological Repair Fund. Community Oversight Council, villagers plus experts, the crowd erupted. Journalists scrambled. Villagers wept. Aila watched from a distant hill, the ghost of a smile on her lips. The battle was won. The war are just beginning. Adebayo's public apology sent shockwaves through Asala. Some called him a redeemed billionaire. Others sneered, publicity stunt. But the real storm was coming from the skies. 7 days of torrential rain. Tropical Asala knew downpours, but this the heavens split open. Water gorged the mining SCA Red Hills until, crack. A deafening roar. The EARTH itself groaned as poison sludge trapped for YARS in illegal waste pits burst free. A tidal wave of toxic mud swallowed fields, homes, everything in its path. Adebayo arrived to hell, chemical stench choking the airfish floating belly up and rainbow-slicked water. Villagers wading through waist-deep filth, clutching children evacuate downstream. He screamed into a megaphone. At dawn, the devastation stretched for miles. Then Aila emerged from the crowd. She SCP'd a handful of murky water, let it drip between her fingers. Listen, she whispered. A strange sound hummed beneath the wind like a wounded animal. The river weeps, Aila said. You damned it, poisoned it, sucked it dry. Now it vomits your sins back at you. This isn't disaster. It's justice. Dr. Rolu tested the water, lead levels 10x safe limits. Don't even touch it. Panic rippled. Until Aila raised her walking stick, we heal it ourselves. The river rebellion begins. Elders unit, Aila's crew chanted purification rites over the water. Wove cleanse root grass mats, natural heavy metal filters. Women's brigade, brewed ginger tea for workers. Taught kids don't pollute. Rhyme sewed charcoal filter bags for rainwater. Youth corps, Atkins team mapped pollution via drone. Discovered a natural sandstone aquifer that filtered toxins. Redirected floodwaters into this ancient purifier. When the first clean trickle returned to the sacred spring, the village wept. Children lined up with bottles. Little Amira poured hers refully. Grandma says water remembers being clean. Darv Rolu gaped at his tests. Sandstone plus grass mats reduced mercury by. This is indigenous science. Adebayo watched, humbled. His idea of progress had been bulldozers and bank loans. Real change, blending old wisdom with new tools. That night, he announced. Asala Eco-Imperative, Villagers EARN Shah Res for Land/Labor/Knowledge Green Mine Pilot, only low impact, closed-loop extraction. Moonlight silvered the spring's surface. The water seemed to whisper when men kneel. Rivers rise. The floodwaters receded, leaving Asala SCA red but alive. Mud-caked fields. Collapsed huts. Uprooted trees. Yet the air hummed not with despair, but stubborn hope. Under Aila's banner, the spring Guardians marched four-way. RD faces Dust Street but eyes blazing. Adebayo knew the Haritis test was coming. At the village SQUARE, he announced the Asala Ecological Foundation of $50 million from his personal fortune to shutter Pit 3 Forever Sacred Grove Restoration Project on former mining land. Wisdom School with Aila as head teacher, herbalism, astronomy, oral history. 30% of green mining profits funneled into community healthcare/education. Journalists cheered, calling it Africa's CSR gold standard road. But when Adebayo scanned the crowd, Aila's face was stone. Mother, he approached her post-ceremony, the foundation is launched. The school, stop. Aila's voice cut like a machete. Money isn't what I asked for. She raised 3 GNA-led fingers. Confess your father's sins, publicly. Not mistakes. Not regrettable history. Name his betrayal, how he sold the sacred spring to colonizers. For cash, causing the plague that killed hundreds. Grovel for forgiveness from their families. Adebayo's knees buckled. His father, the self-made titan he'd idolized, would be exposed as a traitor. Our family name. Aila spat. When Amira burned with fever, did family name CL her? When you fired Akin as a thief, did you CA for my name? Akin leads the foundation's youth wing, not as your puppet. Real power. Real budgets. Or this healing is a lie. Adebayo's jaw clenched. Relinquishing control. To the boy he'd once dismissed as just a janitor, Aila read his hesitation. If you still see him as a subordinate, not a partner, you've reneged nothing. Swallowing pride, Adebayo turned to Akin, you'll co-direct all community projects. No veto from me. Akin studied his father's outstretched hand, then gripped it. For Asala. Every Ancestors' Day, you'll host a feast for elders, not as charity. You'll serve them. Listen to their stories. Let the youth see, gray hair holds wisdom, not shame. Memories flashed Aila's backway RD superstitions he'd once mocked. Now he saw, she was a living library. I agree, Adebayo bowed. To all 3. Ancestors' Day at dawn, long tables unfurled under palm leaf canopies. Goat stew steamed in brass pots. Fresh mangoes glistened. Adebayo, dressed in traditional Yoruba agbada for the first time in decades, personally escorted each elder to their seat. When Aila arrived, he knelt, offering a clay bowl of pepper soup. Mother, eat. His voice cracked. Aila didn't take it. Instead, she pulled a faded red cloth from her wrapper, a lover's token from Adebayo's father, kept for 50 bitter years. This belonged to him, she said, pressing it into his hands. Forgiveness isn't erasing the past. It's walking four-way RD with the wound. As elders spoke, truths long buried surfaced, the spring's moonleaf saved. My sister during childbirth, we hid in the underground river when soldiers came, the plague took my twins, their graves are the poison gully. Adebayo listened, scribbling notes, not as C, but as a student. Then he stood, trembling, today, I atone for my father's crimes. He confessed everything, the bribes, the dynamited spring, the bodies stacked in mass graves. At the end, he prostrated fully, forehead pressed to Earth, Adebayo Ogun, beg forgiveness from all whose blood paid for our wealth. Silence. Then an elder's cane thumped the ground. Stand, child. We've waited half a century for this day. The applause shook the trees. Aila touched his shoulder. At last, you've shed the boy's arrogance. Forgiveness, Adebayo realized, wasn't light. It was the bridge built from truth stones, heavy, unyielding, but strong enough to carry them all. Four-way road. Why this works. After the elders' feast, Asala pulsed with new energy. Flood scars remained, but ERTS knit tighter than ever. Adebayo's Asala ecological foundation wasn't just a bank account anymore, it became a living bridge between past and future. And on that bridge, Akin was stepping into his destiny, no longer the fired janitor, but a leader for a new age. Aila insisted the wisdom school wouldn't be some stuffy campus. Classes unfolded in repurposed village huts, walls hung with ancient RTS and herb diagrams, but corners glowing with donated laptops. The schedule. Mornings, herb wisdom, Aila teaching kids to ID healing plants, afternoons, science and sensors, young teachers explaining water testing, evenings, story firelight, elders spinning oral histories. Akin, as youth coordinator, bridged both worlds. One day, Aila held up cleanse root grass, its roots grip toxins like old hands. A kid blinked. How, Grandma, does it bite? Aila faltered until Akin clicked a projector. An animation bloomed. Grandma's right. These root cells trap heavy metals, lead, cadmium, like magnets. Science calls it phytoremediation. Kids gasped, dazzled by how ancestral knowledge and modern science fit together. Aila watched, pride warming her chest. Tradition wasn't museum dust, it thrived when roots touched new soil. Akin's ripple effect. Soon, his influence spread beyond the school. A green mine pilot, 3 rules: zero waste, closed-loop water recycling through sandstone filters. Profit sharing, 30% to village health/education funds. Women lead, we ring a spring war dian armbands. Mothers patrolled rivers with test kits. Why women? Skeptics asked. Akin shrugged, they notice when kids cough after bathing. Their eyes are the best sensors. Twin court system, modern court, contracts, land rights, law-trained locals plus outside lawyers, elders. Circle, family feuds, moral wounds. Aila's group, guided by custom. Before, we swallowed rage or sued neighbors, a villager marveled. Now tea with elders fixes most fights. Little Amira, the wisdom school's STAR pupil, recorded Aila's tales on a tablet, uploading them to Asala Voices. One day, she sprinted home. Papa. 1,000 people heard my sacred spring story. Even Lagos kids want Guardian teams now. Adebayo's chest swelled. He wasn't just the king anymore, he was a father who listened. The trap in green wrapping. Then, the email. From New Era Energy, Lagos, subject, $500 million Solar RFARMPA Rhinership promises glittered at jobs. 500 local hires, free electricity. For every hut, education fund. $2 million donation. Attached maps showed solar panels blanketing the reborn sacred grove. Akin printed it, handing copies to Adebayo and Aila. Solar clean energy. Adebayo squinted at the fine print. They need 200 acres of our restored land. Aila traced the map's red boundaries. They don't want sunlight. They want soil, our roots. Akin nodded. Check their Ghana/Kenya projects. First, sweet deals. Then, water grabs, grid control, villagers as cheap labor. Silence. The old greed wore new masks, this time, eco-friendly. Aila gazed at the moonlit spring. Real bridges don't lead us away. They help our land stand firm. Outside, storm clouds gathered. But Asala wasn't afraid anymore. They had wisdom. They had each other. And this time, they'd fight on their feet. New Era Energy's offer swept through Asala like a scented breeze. Electricity at last. Kids could study after archaic clinics could refrigerate vaccines. Women wouldn't trek miles for water. Akin, this is our chance. Old Olu the electrician grinned. Generations prayed for power. With this solar RFARM, we won't be backward anymore. Exactly. Young men cheered. High-paying jobs. Better than farming herbs. Akin let them talk. He'd waited overnight in Lagos slums just to charge a phone. He knew electricity wasn't luxury, it was survival. But that email's fine print pricked him. He called a council Adebayo, Aila, Olu, Antamina, Women's Water Watch Captain, and youth reps. Projecting New Era's glossy plans, he said, $5 billion RS jobs. Grid access. Righty funds. Sounds perfect, right then sign. Olu slapped the table. Wait. Akin zoomed in on redlined maps. Their solar field eats 2/3 of our restored land, Sacred Grove, Healing Spring, Aquafarica RGE zone. So plant new trees. Olu scoffed. Power's urgent. They never mention water, Akin countered. In Ghana, their clean solar are plant-drained wells for cling. Villagers now buy water from them. Gasps filled the room. And those jobs. Akin tapped his tablet. Most are temporary. Construction. Permanent roles go to outsiders. Their community fund vague promises. Can't we build our own plant? A youth asked. Yes, but decentralized. Akin sketched rooftop solar are grids on his screen. Small, owned by us. Power stays in our hands. Peanuts. Olu waved him off. Go big or stay poor. The debate raged till midnight. Half the room salivated over New Era's promises. The temptation grows. Days later, New Era's slick manager arrived, custom suit, perfect teeth. He upped the offer at $10 million upfront land payment. Akin hired as global sustainability consultant, $1 million salary, US visa, hinted political backing for Adebayo as village SQUA PowerPoint dazzled the skyscrapers. Streetlights. Kids studying under solar panels, friends, he orated. Your traditions are charming, but can't feed your children. Solar is the future. Let's make a Sala West Africa's green jewel. The crowd ROA read. Even Olu wept. Happy TRS. Akin stood apart, gut churning. The reckoning at the Sacred Spring. Akin hosted a different kind of meeting, no slideshows. Just Kofi, a hunched Ghanaian elder from a new era, success story. They took our water, Kofi croaked, pointing to his cracked lips. Gwa RDS cha RGES to drink from our own wells. Their jobs lies. Now our youth flee to cities. Silence. Then Akin overlaid New Era's well drilling plans on a Sala's aquifer map, red dots piercing the underground rivers. HRT3 ARS, he said. Our springs, FARMS, gone. Like Ghana. Finally, Aila rose. She didn't read New Era's man. Instead, she sang to the moon an ancient lyric, Sunfire lights the dayland, bones hold our roots. Burn bones for bright flames, light without home is ghostlight. Turning to the crowd, they sell progress, but steal our spine. My grandson's small solar that's true change, new tiles on old roofs, not bulldozers. On graves. New Era's manager hissed, you'll regret this. We know who we are. Akin said softly. Adebayo stepped to the village decision drum, centuries old. One beat for yes, one chime for no. No contracts tonight, he declared. Only he RTS. Only EARTH. Accept New Era's deal drum for yes. Bell for no. The first chime rang Aila's. Then another. And another. Olu hesitated, then grabbed a bell. Only 3 lonely drumbeats drowned in the metallic rain. New Era's man stormed off, enabling, enjoy your darkness. We know light, Akin called after him. And what's worth burning for it? New Era Energy's convoy vanished in a dust cloud, taking their glittering future with them. Yet Asala stood taller than ever, not just rejecting greed, but reclaiming their worth. That night of ringing bells wasn't just refusal, it was resurrection. Akin didn't pause. With Aila and Adebayo backing him, he launched Asala Light, a real Solar project owned by villagers. Funds came from EcoCP savings and microgrants. Tech from returning engineers. Labor from calloused hands. The first panel crowned the Wisdom School's roof. When lights flickered on at dusk, kids shrieked with joy. Aila sat beneath them, her wrinkles glowing like STA light as she told herb tales. Then came the clinic. The water pump. Street lamps in the SQUA modest power, but their power, managed democratically at monthly energy circles led by Akin. Adebayo had transformed too. No more CBA or King orders, just a resource weaver, leveraging old contacts for organic FA remaining tech, fair trade deals. My money once poisoned this land, he'd say. Now it plants healing seeds. Asala's rebirth drew outsiders. But this time, they chose Pa Reinerships University Researchers refining cleanse route into commercial water filters, NGOs adapting their two courts conflict model, ecotourism, not poverty voyeurism, but Leah running journeys where visitors studied herbs at the Wisdom School, joined women's water patrols, ate real village meals, 70% income to host families, 5 years flowed like the sacred spring, quiet but unstoppable. The grove thrived. Fish de route in crystal waters. Little Amira, now 12, could recite herbal chants and analyze water data on her tablet. I'll be a scientist who speaks spirit tongue, she vowed. One golden afternoon, Aila sat by the spring with children. Grandma, can trees really talk? A boy asked. Aila chuckled, not with words. But a thirsty tree droops. A sick tree sheds. Leah RN its language. Who'll inherit your spirit sight? Another child pressed. Aila beckoned Amira. From her robe, she drew a bark thread pouch, the EARS of Ogun talisman passed down for generations. You, she said, pressing it into Amira's palms. Your father thought science had all answers. But science forgot to ask, why do rivers weep? Your mother thought money bought safety. But money can't buy breath. She pointed to minnows rooting in the spring. They thrive because they know they belong to the water, not own it. The last moon when Aila's time NEA read, she gathered family and elders under full moonlight. I've seen colonizer guns, she whispered. Corporate knives. Flood's fury. But brightest human light. To Adebayo, you knelt so your soul could stand. To Akin, you rose from mud to lift a village. To Amira, you'll walk paths my old eyes won't see. Her final words to Adebayo, the worst curses are rent spat by old women, they're baked by ignoring the land's cries. True blessings they're sweat-watered saplings. Bent knees. Hands that mend what they broke. As the moon silvered her face, her breath stilled, not gone, just woven into the spring song. They buried her atop the sacred grove. No wailing, just low chants and flowing water. Amira laid moonleaf in the grave. Grandma, I'm Leah running to listen. 5 years later Adebayo stood with teen Amira by the spring, clear rarer than ever, framed by wildflowers. Sola our panels glinted nearby, not clashing with ancient trees but completing them. Amira knelt, pulling cleanse root, spring art, and driamban from her pouch. She set them afloat, whispering Aila's prayers. Then, to the air, Grandma, I remember. Our roots never left. A breeze stirred the leaves, soft as a chuckle. Adebayo exhaled. Aila wasn't gone. She lived in every ripple, every tree ring, every child's laughter. In Africa, the deepest wisdom hides in the humblest wrinkles. And the greatest legends there are not about gods. But about broken old women who mend whole worlds, with nothing but dignity, memory, and stubborn love.